What's going on, everyone? It's Daniel with DB Studios, and today we're going to talk about the brand new Lumion 11. Lumion 11 dropped about 5 days ago from this recording. I'm recording this on the 22nd, so it dropped November 17th. And so far, there is 19 new features to Lumion 11 that is absolutely breathtaking, and this is what we're going to go over today in this video. But first things first, I wanted to say, if you haven't seen the video regarding the new website, please watch that first. I finally launched my new website, which has all types of content, from my content on YouTube to my content on my Instagram, and I'd like for you to check it out, and I'll leave a card in the corner for you to see that after this video. So going back to this new Lumion 11, it's absolutely incredible. And here, looking at the screen, here are some of the brand new features that's been integrated into the program, and we're gonna go through each of these, and it's absolutely breathtaking, and you're going to see why. So Lumion actually made this beautiful trailer that actually speaks about some of the new features in the program, and we're going to play it right now, and I'm going to watch it with each of you.
I feel proud that I've been able to bring 2D spaces to life.
I definitely believe that life and emotion are the two most important things.
There's no imagining what it could be. It's point, click, apply, done.
I mean, it makes those really long days at work a lot more fun.
Wow. Their animation has certainly improved. Orthographic views? What? That looks so much better than like the previous models where they're just like doing like the same things. Look at the textures. Wow. They never had that before. That's a huge upgrade. What? On that scale? Oh, LiveSync is something that's always been a thing. And these, I'll pause it right here. These are actually some of the various programs. Put that back. Yes. So these are actually the programs that are currently available that has LiveSync that works with that program and Lumion as well. So you have SketchUp, you have Revit, Rhino, you have BricsCAD, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and AutoCAD as well. I actually didn't know AutoCAD had Lumion LiveSync, so that's something I'm learning right now. Wow. If looking at this, I'm sorry I keep pausing it, but looking at this, I would have thought it was a photograph. Because Lumion has always had that setting for rain, you know, adding rain into your projects, but never, you know, you would see the drops on the window, things like that, but to see the precipitation so visible in this animation, that's absolutely incredible. Gorgeous. So the fire is no longer this two-dimensional thing. It has three-dimensional space. I've always known about the mapping feature, but like on that kind of scale, wouldn't that crash your computer? Maybe they found a way to optimize it. Well, let's keep watching. Oh, that's crazy. Really? They improved the lighting. They certainly improved it. Wow. Can we take a moment to appreciate the texture of this rug? Like, I know Lumion is known for having like very interesting textures, especially with things such as the 3D grass. If you ever use it, one of my favorite things to use. But seeing that sort of like fine texture, if you zoom in, you can even see like the fine wisp of the hair for the rug. Incredible. Lumion never ceases to amaze me, honestly. They see this as more than just, you know, as they were saying in the beginning of this trailer, you just click and you just place, click, place. You're not thinking about it. Now there is so much more that you can do. Like, the possibilities have been extended so much that now it's really a matter of really, I can do this in many different ways. How do I want it to look? But incredible. Let's get into this, into some of these features. So looking here at the screen, one of the biggest thing that jumped out to me is this orthographic view. Orthographic view has been something that has only been available in Lumion through LiveSync, because Lumion does not have an orthographic view. When you're panning around in the program, you really have to orbit the camera in such a way in order to get a particular view. With LiveSync, you're able to use the orthographic settings in, for example, Rhino, top view, left view, right view, elevation, all these things in order to get like a very specific orthographic view in Lumion. But now Lumion has orthographic view embedded in the program. This is such a huge game changer, and the reason for that is, for the most part, when it came to orthographic views, plan section, doing your renderings, your entourages for things like that, other programs such as V-Ray was really dominating, but now this is giving Lumion a huge leg up in that respect. One thing we have to go over is that some is only available in the Pro version. Pro version, as you know, Lumion has a student version and a Pro version. The Pro version is what the professionals use, and of course you have to pay for it. But the student version is the free version that you get each year, and you renew it each year by showing some sort of document proving that you're a student. So this is available for the Pro version only, and I imagine the reason for this is, animating phasing is something that's very important, especially when you're showing your projects to clients, showing the overall timeline of your project, how your project is going to grow, and that's really a great selling point. As we even saw in the video, where was it? It was right here. That was absolutely incredible, showing the layers. You saw the interior, the layers, and how this begins to relate to this overall environment. It's something incredible. And even the way you set up your phasing is very important, because now I feel like this has a greater connection to, let's say, green design, to put it quite simply. So here, when you have the rain streaks, which we saw in the video, which was absolutely incredible. It was breathtaking to me, seeing these rain streaks. Where was it? It was absolutely incredible. Seeing the rain streaking off the object, that's also another new feature. And volumetric fire is what we saw with the fireplace and the other areas where the fire was in the circle. Before in Lumion, the fire, when you use that fire toggle, it was always two-dimensional. If you try to orbit around it, it kind of looked the same. If you ever tried to orbit around the fire, it did look the same. That's a huge change, because especially with introducing like these new types of views, having it three-dimensional, it's just a way to make it look more realistic and not like 2D copy and paste. So the next one with micro shadows, and we could click here to get more details, which we're going to do shortly, but let's quickly fly through each of these things. Micro shadows for spotlights is what you saw, where basically in this part of the video, where they had the shadow on the wall right here, and there are different levels of details, right? So you kind of have the shadow, the deeper shadow, and then it it kind of like fades out, which is very realistic. Some rendering softwares don't get quite well. It kind of tends to be just this whole consistent glow. But if you think about it, the way the light is hitting the wall, it's hitting the wall at an angle. This is your light, right? You can't really see. I wish I could demonstrate it. The wall is right here, and this is your light, right? So the light is coming down, it hits the wall at an angle, and then this is a sharp edge. And then it's kind of begins to fade and become a little bit brighter and brighter and brighter as more of the light is hitting the surface of the wall. I'm hoping I explained that correctly. Next is an improved glass lighting, which we saw here. I've done quite a bit of interior renderings with Lumion, and Lumion it works really well for interiors, but honestly my go-to for interiors has always been V-Ray because of the immense and detailed control you have over the different settings and the way light is reflected and refracted. But here it seems like it's been dramatically upgraded. If we're just looking at the way the light peers into the room and the different levels of details, like you see the shadows here, shadows there, huge improvement. And the metallic car shader, can we talk about that for a moment? Look at that. Never, oh my goodness, I haven't seen this detail of realism in, you know, a car rendering since using V-Ray for SketchUp and things like that. But now Lumion has really kicked things up a notch, and Lumion was already really good to begin with. So this is the first category, and to fly through some of the other categories before we get more details, there are a lot of new objects that they integrated. If we go to this street view, right, where you see new characters, they're making things more diverse. You have people with hats, hoodies, scarves, things like that. You see people of different colors, and you know, they're trying to make it more diverse. And I actually had a tutorial where I talked about the characters, where I introduced Lumion, and where you using Lumion 10, I was saying, I'm not too much of a fan of the characters they had, but they really improved it quite a bit. And looking at these materials, I'd never seen this. This is like a special type of stucco, I believe, for the walls. And this sort of, I think this could be some type of mosaic tile for the wall. So they're really integrating a lot of materials into the program. And you know, you can argue, hey, but you've always been able to import materials into Lumion. What's the big deal? But the thing is, the materials they have within the program, they fine tune it in such a way that it responds properly to the different changes that you make when you change the color, the alpha channels, the reflectivity, and all these details responds properly. But when you use a custom materials, you may run into some hiccups here and there. So new objects, new materials that we see here, and the new objects is some of the different types of street lamps, some of the things that is used in the entourage for this project, which is amazing. New types of benches, I haven't seen one quite like that in the material library. Then again, the material library is huge, so you know, the paintings on the street, all these things are really something you can customize. But it seems like they found a way to really streamline it into the program. And looking at the satellite maps, if we go, let's say here, right, looking at the satellite maps, look at that. Lumion had this street map things, but if you click on it, you might notice it always said beta testing. So the fact that they have this legit incorporated into the program, of course it's only for the pro version, because why do you need that as a student? You know, those students could kind of use that. But you know, this is now really officially incorporated into the program, and they found a way to really have this working at a mass scale, because even opening this, it makes your file very heavy. So it looks like they found a way to optimize it and streamline it into the program, which is incredible. Same thing with the spotlight. There are custom spotlights which has been integrated over here, which looks gorgeous, honestly. And this is just something which, you know, it's going to make Lumion probably a leading competitor in interior renderings now for interior software. So this is something that's so interesting. You all probably don't know this about me, but I love rendering. I love rendering. Doesn't mean that's all I want to do when I'm sitting in the firm rendering all day, but rendering has been something I love and I adore. I do renderings all the time. I used to suck at rendering, but I learned to get really good at it, learned to really edit it post-production and all these things. But wow, yeah. So you have that, and the LiveSync. They added a new LiveSync for BricsCAD, which is something I actually never knew they had LiveSync for some of these other programs, especially AutoCAD, as I mentioned. So that's really a fantastic integration. And this color picker tool, similar to Photoshop, right? The color picker tool is so important, especially when you want to match certain colors to actually look like one another. And sometimes having different colors can make something look a bit inconsistent and not so professional. And now looking at the last column, we have the high quality theater preview. So essentially, Lumion allowing you to preview your work in such a way that allows you to really see how the final output will ultimately be like. And we're going to look more into this detail shortly. And they have new panorama effects, and they also offer tutorials for new users, which I think is pretty cool. When I learned Lumion for the first time, I actually learned it in, it took a few hours because I'm really a techie guy, so it's not too hard for me. But maybe for the average person, it may take, maybe a day, a few days, something like that. And you have to look at tutorials, and some tutorials don't really go into everything. So the fact that they're integrating more tutorials for new users in the software is very important, especially when you're adding all these new features, because it could tend to be a bit intimidating. So they improved the workflow. So I can imagine in terms of optimizing the speed, optimizing, how you streamline between different materials. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag. I mean, of course, this depends on your graphic cards, but that's interesting. And not too sure what foundational change means, but let's start with this category. So now we can begin to scroll down and begin to look at some of these things in detail. So this is the orthographic view, which is incredible. If you look at that, you can show a plan view and show, you can highlight different elements. You can actually get rid of the materials, which this reminds me of if any of you use Rhinoceros for modeling, the Arctic view mode, which is fantastic for, really making everything this white, clean looking, and also you can go into the settings and, make your glass appear. You can go in your settings, make certain objects have their color. So this reminds me of that. And you could turn the lights on and off. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And as we mentioned, the animating phase is also a great way for the clients to actually see how your project is integrated into the environment. And as you all know, Lumion has a lot of models that you can import in order to create your buildings for your entourage. So you can create this lively landscape. And it seems like they improved the way the cars function so they don't look so, I don't know if you ever did a rendering animation with Lumion. The cars look like they're like they're turning, it looks so stuttery and fake, but now it's moving so smoothly. And going here, like, oh wow, that's something. The rain streaks is just like a huge game changer in terms of the realism that you can add to your work. This is something I normally do post-production. I need to add some rain streaks. I need to add this, add that, add a car, whatever. And I use photos and I integrate it into the program like that. But something? This makes things simpler. And what it says here? It's similar to render for a moody rain day, or I read that completely wrong. It's simple to render the mood for a rainy day, And it's incredible because now there's a lot of this work that you normally do post-production is integrated so nicely into this program that it's just, You know, it seems like it will take hours to get right, and now they make it so simple with the use of a slider, and that's why I like Lumion. It's very intuitive to get these crazy, beautiful effects. And you know, it's some things that are possible with V-Ray, and I'm not talking down V-Ray. I love V-Ray so much. It's just that in terms of time, you know, in terms of the ease that you get it, and now you can spend more time thinking about what should I place here, what should I place there, instead of thinking how do I get this to work. I think it's just this is going to really be the future, you know, and I mean, it already is. And just the degree of realism, this looks like a photo. There used to be this argument, you know, that Lumion looks so cartoonish, you know, and it really does depend on the effects that you add to your image as you're rendering, and, you know, your lighting. You can make your image look real. It could become a hit or miss. But Lumion, even since Lumion 10, Lumion has been greatly improving the quality so much. So yes, all these nuances that they're adding, from raindrops to the fireplace to the metallic car, it does add a greater dimensionality to the program. Now, looking at some of the new objects, they actually have this list, which is super helpful. So some of the new materials, you get different types of wood and sidings, which is great for your facade, different types of tiles, new asphalt. I'm going to tell you something with Lumion. I've always had some issues with the asphalt. I would always go into the material, always edit the tone of the asphalt, because it was always either too dark or too light. But I'm happy that they added new ones, and I have no doubt that it looks incredible. I actually did this rendering in a demo tutorial using Lumion 10.01, and look how nice this looks. The snow, it's believable. But the fact that they added more snow materials and all these other materials really goes to show that they're taking a lot of the things that they have and improving it, and they're also adding new things as well. So if you see this, they improved the quality of some of these materials. Like, they said they improved it in such a way, it's like you can smell the leather. You look at it and you know it's leather. It's not like, is that like a drawing of leather? Is that like a cartoon or rendering of leather? It looked like a photo that you can smell it, or like the wood. It's like you can hear it, you know? So this is just so exciting. And, you know, even the way I just described it, this sensory experience, you know, looking at this, if you could see the background, now we can see it up close. You can see the little furs of hair. Look at the wood and the wall, and you know, having this inconsistency in the texture for this stucco is incredible. It's so realistic, and that's what makes it look nice. You know, like when you have your material and like repetition, you know, you have it tiled, you have that repetition in your material, and it looks so, you know, it's a rendering. It doesn't look so good, but Lumion does a great job blending this. And all these new objects, we have more interior models, more people, which you saw in the video, more people, different types of trees. They added more fine detail nature models. So fine detail nature models, if you may not be familiar, was introduced in Lumion 10, and it has such a high degree of realism. If you thought the trees were realistic before, try using one of those. But, you know, use it sparingly, because it could make your model very heavy. But as we saw in the preview, they had a whole landscape filled with this. So I also imagine they found a way to make more of these detailed tree models, but also streamline the memory process, how heavy it is on the memory, which is something that's really good and is going to be very helpful. So now these detail models don't have to be, you know, these detail models don't have to really be a luxury. It could become the standard in rendering. And now as we're going through it, this is the category for easier workflow, right? So now it's a little bit easier to pick certain colors. You know, as I mentioned, the color picker for Photoshop, this is just really good. And then you have all these different shades, and you can go to different colors. And you can see here, there's like the hue. Here is where you have, it looked like hues. I can't quite see it too well. And here's where you have the spectrum of colors. That is just so good. It's just really good, and cannot emphasize on how beautiful this looks enough. And now we have that high theater rendering preview. So now Lumion has a high quality preview theater mode, which has been incorporated, and this is a brand new feature. I have a tutorial comparing V-Ray to Lumion, in which what is better for what situation. And one of the advantages that V-Ray had was the interactive render. You can actually get a preview of what the final output looks like before you actually render it. With Lumion, you couldn't quite tell that, you see it, but like the rendering comes out way better than it actually looks. But now with this high quality theater preview, now Lumion is going to allow you to preview this thing, and you can have a better idea of what needs to be changed in order to get your desired final output. Well, Lumion renderings are fast, so it's not a huge deal, re-rendering, but a heavy file could take up to 20 minutes, and you don't want to have to wait 20 minutes and have your computer lag while you're trying to cancel the render and redo it, so having this theater preview is going to be very helpful. And as I mentioned, the tutorials, this is going to be great for beginners. Lumion is already intuitive, but now it's intuitive and very resourceful in terms of the information that it's providing to new users. And here we have other workflow improvements, which they mentioned, which is they upgraded the user interface, so it's more intuitive. I don't know how it gets even more intuitive than that. The color picker, as we mentioned before, the right colors for your project. Wow, this is good. So custom values. So when you have the custom mode for your renderings, right? And now you can edit the custom layout of the template of the image that you're rendering, the snapshot I should say, because the way Lumion works is a series of snapshots, and you produce the renderings from there, and it works with a series of passes to build up the detail in the images. So looking at that, it looks like there's greater customization, I should say. Maybe you can create a realistic rendering without relying too much on FX, add in the realism FX or setting the custom style to realistic. So maybe that's really what it's about, which is something that's really, really good. And then here we have better proxers for frames per second. So as you know, sometimes when you're moving through your project and you have a large complex scene, sometimes you have to put things on different layers in order to, make things a little bit easier to move through, or you have to reduce the graphic quality of your overall preview in order for things to be streamlined a lot better. But now with the improved frames per second, meaning you can probably still have these heavy environments and still move through the program and work on it really well, or really efficiently I should say, which actually goes back to this with the detail models. This makes your program very heavy, but with this improved, that's something that's going to help with like these large and complex scenes. And now they added all these other things in terms of the LiveSync with other programs. You have the map, and you also have these panorama effects. This is going to be really good in terms of helping organize your project, because you need to see things from a particular view, or maybe as you're seeing things in Lumion and you look back to your model, maybe something needs to be changed in the model, something doesn't work, and you can edit it together. They've been using LiveSync since Lumion 9, so it's not a new thing, but I have no doubt that they improved the connectivity of LiveSync, because if any of you used it like I have, it does tend to get a little glitchy and disconnect, and sometimes it's like it doesn't move too accurately, or maybe you have a positive experience. And this is just like absolutely incredible to bring real life terrains and render it, and it looks a lot better than the demo version that's available in Lumion 10. So this is really something that's going to be a game changer, especially when you're doing site studies. You need to work on a project in a different location. You're not just setting up an entourage, oh, maybe it looks like this, like that. You can literally import the site through the coordinates. And artistic panorama is very helpful, especially when you're showing your client a space and you can actually walk through the space, not so much as an animation, because if you think about it, animations are very curated. So you go in the direction that the person controlling the render allows you to walk, but now you can pan through the space. If you ever seen those 3D models of buildings, there's like this really famous one of the Exeter Library online where you have this 3D view of the space. So the fact that you can make that is now this new and very nice effect that's special for Lumion. So this is incredible. And then next we have the improved lighting realism. So depending on your settings, as we mentioned earlier, it could look a little bit cartoonish if you're not tweaking it right. It's important. Those settings that you put for the custom style, all those things are very important. It does affect the overall output, of course, and where your light is positioned. So these micro shadows, which you saw earlier on the wall, there's a lot of micro shadows. Yeah, this is the example. The little micro shadows that you have in between, it goes a long way to make the rendering feel and look a lot more realistic. So that's really good. The micro shadows improve the glass for lighting. The light looks a lot better, a lot more realistic. I could see the difference because I literally was using Lumion 10 recently. So this is a really generous upgrade, I must say. And this looked like a photo. If you showed me this and with no context, I would say it's a photo, you know? And it's not something you can always say, you know, for certain rendering softwares. But that's really a plus, a huge plus. And this is what they meant by foundational change. They're talking about the hardware itself. So they want to allow people, as we said, let's actually read this. We've always taken a stand on hardware and tech developments, innovating in a direction to allow you to add more life and personality to your renders with breathtaking simplicity. For Lumion 11, some very basic foundational elements of Lumion have changed, though you won't directly experience these changes in this version. So I guess some of the foundational elements is, I guess maybe the way the system produces renderings. It could be something along that lines, but whatever it is exactly, it seems like they really done a fantastic job streamlining this program and really making it in such a way where it's more intuitive, and some of these higher quality for renderings is now eventually going to become standard. You know, who knows what Lumion 12 is going to look like. Those were 19 new features added to Lumion 11. So are you excited for Lumion 11, or have you already started using Lumion 11? What are your thoughts on the program? Let me know in the comment below. As for myself personally, I'm going to continue using Lumion 10 for quite some time until I'm able to upgrade to Lumion 11, but this is just such a beautiful program, and I'm actually excited to get my hands on it and start working on some realistic renderings. I actually might revisit some old projects and actually re-render it using this software. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you all in the next one.